I think we're back.
Oh,
There, we're back.
everybody,
Hey, yay!
I think we all had turkey after supper and we're a little slow to the switch.
We're batting bad scores lately. The two shows back and two sets of technical difficulties. But anyway, we're back. And it takes when it doesn't go the first time through, you wouldn't believe the panic back here on the back end, folks. Trying to get all the keys in places. Anyway, it's what it's like when you're live. So, but we are live, and welcome back. Yay! So, everybody, and welcome back to our welcome back to our Sunday night offering of astronomy outreach, astronomy edutainment. Actually, the Sunday night astronomy show.
Hey,
Hey,
No.
I'm the creator of the social media channels known as Astronomy by the Bay. I'm also an amateur astronomer and a member of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. Yes, I am.
yes, you are.
My two regular
Keep saying
co-hosts.
that.
Welcome back, my two regular co-hosts. At least one of them I welcome back. Mr. Paul Owen from the Moonshot Observatory in Hampton. Paul.
Hello.
Mr. Mike Powell from the PFO Observatory here in St. John. Mike.
Hey, something special tonight? I hear fireworks outside.
Oh, no.
Probably
Oh.
just your neighbor had a few too many to drink and he's having
I
a
think so, yeah.
Could be.
Also, we'd like to welcome back all of you tonight from YouTube and Facebook land, and all of you who are joining us through the local Rogers TV network. Thank you for your support. Now, on tonight's episode of the Sunday Night Astronomy Show, constellations, we talked about this many times before. They are the road maps to the treasures in the night sky. Learning about the constellations does help us identify and locate special targets. And at times, we get to hear some of the ancient legends that feature the constellations. For that, we've invited back our special guest again, Mr. Kurt Nason, who will share his perspective on the constellation of Andromeda in our Constellation of the Month discussion. Welcome back, Kurt.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, joy. God bless.
You didn't
Can't get anybody to be serious in the show at all, can I? Anyway, and Bino Bud's going to be back with another celestial treasure to share. Yes, okay. And we're delighted to have Rosanna back with us as well. Paul's going to be introducing Rosanna's fun fact.
Yes.
For tonight. And we'll also discuss a few celestial events coming up this week. And we're also going to have your wonderful photo submissions to share. So that's all tonight. So how about we get started then? I'll let somebody else take over. Episode 229 and a discussion around the constellation of Andromeda. Kurt, that would be you, sir.
Oh, that's me? Okay.
I can relax.
Host, disabled participant screen sharing.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
That's a good
After
start.
all that. There, go ahead now, sir.
Let's try it.
There we go.
Not for me. There we go. Nope. Ta-da! Okay, Andromeda, a name which means controller of men. All right, so here's Andromeda in here. A little bit later tonight, it'll be up about this high. Looking good, and we got all these constellations around it. We have Pegasus, the flying horse, and the Lacerta, the lizard, which is a little difficult to see. Cepheus, the king of Ethiopia, and his wife Cassiopeia, and they're both the parents of Andromeda. You get the big camel leopard here, and Perseus down in here. All these other ones coming up. So several of these play a role in the mythology of Andromeda. It's the famous Perseus Andromeda story. So this is one set of the fall constellations. The other set is the watery constellations. And there's one constellation that plays a role in both, and that is this guy here, Cetus the whale. Although in this story, he's acting as a ugly sea monster. All right, so Andromeda, she was the daughter of King Cepheus and Queen Cassiopeia. And that was the land of, most stories have it that as the land of Ethiopia, which back then would be, say, the northern coast of Africa. Other ones have it on the Levantine coast, which is around Israel, Syria, and Lebanon, that area. Most of them have it here in Ethiopia. And the story has it, of course, she's a princess. All princesses are beautiful. And her mother, Cassiopeia, is beautiful as well. And she's always bragging how beautiful Andromeda is. And this goes on and on. Now, living in the sea, they're on the coast here, are the sea nymphs. They're daughters of the of Poseidon, who is the god of the seas. Now, them, actually, we can work them into here too, because right down in here, we have the Pleiades. So they make a good representation of those sea nymphs. I know it says moon. That's just a reminder that tonight the moon will be passing very, very close to, or actually in some places through, the Pleiades star cluster. All right, so they were thinking they were most beautiful girls in the world. And so they were always complaining to their father, Poseidon, about Cassius bragging about Andromeda's beauty. You know, they nagging on and on and on. Finally, wore on him. And to make some revenge here, he made this ugly sea monster. And so Ethiopia on the coast, people would be fishing and having a good time on the beach. So when that sea monster got made, he came up off the coast and started heading toward the shore. And people would see this thing coming. They didn't know what it was. Some get scared and smart and ran away. But the monster came up and ate up a few of the people and scared the other ones away. Then he chased them up on the land, and then he farms up there, maybe rip up some crops, and had enough to eat. And then he went back into the shore or back into the sea. And the next day he goes out, and he can embellish this a bit, perhaps. And this way you might get the brave guys coming out. See if that guy comes back there and they kill him. And then, hey, maybe they could have Andromeda for the girlfriend. So the monster does come up again, and most people see it and start running away. A few are stupid enough to hang around. They get eaten up. The monster goes up on the shore and finds a few more people, rips up some more crops. So day after day, this happens, and eventually there's hardly anybody to find there, but he goes around peeking through windows and this and that, and still gets his fill. The people are really scared now, so they go to King Cepheus and say, if you don't get rid of the sea monster, there won't be anybody left. You're the king. Do something. Well, he didn't know why the monster was there. So he went to the Oracle of Ammon. And the Oracle told him that the sea monster is there because of Cassiopeia bragging Andromeda's beauty. You know, the only way to get rid of that monster, you'll have to sacrifice Andromeda to the monster. So there's a dilemma. Is he going to be a good king and save his people? Or is he going to be a good father and save his daughter? Well, he knew he had to be a good king, and she was a princess. She was pretty scared, but she understood as well. So they took her down, they chained her to the rocks, and that's why you see usually Andromeda here with these chains on her wrists. I don't have any description up there of what Andromeda is. Used to be you'd see her as the chained woman or the chained maiden, and now you see quite a bit, especially in the RAFC handbook when they have the list of constellations. They just have her as the daughter of Cassiopeia. And I thought, oh, this might be some political correct stuff. So I went back through some of the old ones, the handbooks. And the first one I picked up was from 1968. Not that I was a member back then, but I like collect books. And in the 1968 one, it said Chained Maiden. So I looked into a 71 or 72 one, and they didn't give any description. So look ahead, in 1982, they started giving us a description, and that's when they started calling it Cassiopeia's daughter. So it's been quite a while since she's been the chained maiden. Okay, so where was I? Do I have to start again? No. They take her down to the seashore and chain her to the rocks. And she's there sweating bullets. And eventually she sees the big bubbles coming up out of the sea. And the monster looks at her and maybe starts licking his chops. Says, there's the most beautiful lunch he's probably ever seen in his life. Short life, anyway. He starts rushing toward her like this. Now, just like in the old movies, we get this guy flying overhead on a flying horse. And his name is Perseus. And he's just come from somewhere else. He killed the Gorgon Medusa, cut her head off without looking at it, and put that in a sack. And from the Medusa's blood, jumped from the ocean, this beautiful white horse with wings. So he hopped on the back of that horse and started flying home. He wanted to show Medusa's head to some people that made fun of him and changed them all to stone. Anyway, on his way over there, he happened to fly over Ethiopia, and he looks down. There's the most beautiful woman he ever saw in his life. And this great big ugly sea monster salivating jaws, just about ready to eat her up. So he comes flying down on Pegasus, grabs Medusa's head out of his bag, and shows Medusa's head to the big ugly sea monster, and the sea monster turns to stone, becomes a big rock on the seashore. I'm quite sure there are places there they'll tell you that's where the monster used to be, but now it's just a big rock. But there are different versions of a lot of these stories, and one of them has Perseus flying home on the winged sandals that he had gotten from Hermes. And he saw the Medusa there first, or not Medusa, Andromeda. So he flew down beside her and asked her, why she was doing it, why she was chained to the rocks. And she was a little bit shy, but eventually told him. And that's when he saw the monster heading his way. And so in this version of it, he flies up on his sandals and takes his sword out. He goes out and meets the monster out there just near the shore, and stabs it a few times, and it flips over and he stabs it in the stomach and is killed that way. So whichever one you like better. I think the Pegasus one must be one that came later. Pegasus maybe just got thrown in there because it's up there in the sky. There had to be some explanation for it there. So he kills the monster, or turns it to stone, cuts the chains off, and goes to Cepheus and Cassiopeia, and smitten by her beauty, he asks for her hand in marriage. Now, in one of the stories, he prearranged that when he saw that the monster was coming, he got their permission to marry them if he killed the monster. And in one story, he has them reneging, or at least Cassiopeia reneging on that, because she was betrothed to Cepheus's brother. Eventually, though, they do get married and headed back off to where Perseus came from and lived happily ever after. And that's a nice, lovely story. Right, so I'll tell that one. So I'm going to talk a few things about deep sky objects, a little bit about the stars in here, and maybe a couple of asterisms, and how maybe some other people saw this. Unfortunately, there are really no stories from North American legends of Andromeda at all that I could find in any books. Right, so here's the three stars. Now, here's the square Pegasus, but the alpha star of Andromeda is right here. That's Alpheratz. And this was a shared star until a century ago, when back in the 20s, when the IAU were they designated the entire sky into 88 constellations and designated their names. And toward the later part of that decade, they hired an astronomer from France to set out the boundaries of that. And so they also had to decide, should we have shared stars, things like that. They wanted to have constellations just definite there with their definite boundaries. So this was both the part of Pegasus and part of Andromeda. So they decided it was more important to have the princess with a head than a flying horse with a belly button. So officially became part of Andromeda. All right, now here's move that out of here. Here's three big stars on here. There's Alpheratz, which is the alpha star, and Alpheratz means the horse. And you'll read in some places where it says it might be the horse's navel. But no, it also was called Sira, and Sira translates from Arabic into the horse's navel. And it's a second magnitude star. Put this to 2 decimal places. Magnitude 2.06, which is fairly bright. It's 97 light years away, and it's a close binary. I don't have a picture of it here. Yeah, if I get back to here, there's the second brightest star, Beta Andromedae. That's we'll see what that one is. This is Almach, and this is Meroc. So Beta Andromedae is Meroc, and that comes from another Greek spelling, but they misspelled it. And actually, the name of that was Mizar, which is a shared name with the star in the Big Dipper. And Mizar means girdle or loincloth, which makes sense because this is where it is in the middle of Andromeda. So eventually it wound up with the name Meroc, and that's the official name for it. Now it's a variable star, and its magnitude 2.01 to 2.10. So sometimes it's actually brighter than Alpheratz. And here's a picture of it here. And if you've ever used binoculars or finder scope to star hop, from Pegasus up to the Andromeda Galaxy, and we'll see that coming up. You'll notice that this star is definitely orange, and it really jumps out here. Now, it looks like it's a double star here, but we'll find out later what this is. And so once I see that orange star, I know, yeah, definitely on Merock. Now, the third one is a really nice star as well. Gamma Andromedae is Almach. That's derived from N8 Allard, which was a caracal. And as everybody knows, that's a desert lynx, or a predator feline that was living in that area. And it's a beautiful, colorful binary star. You see it here. Very deep blue on here, more of a golden one color there. So just like Albireo, when they're closer together, you need more magnification to separate them, only about 10 arc seconds apart. And it's binary with about a 5-year period. Magnitude 2.27 and about 390 light years away. And it turns out that this one is actually a triple star. So you get the B1 and B2 and C here. So these are orbiting. These two orbit each other, and together they orbit this one. And with the main star in Alpha, here. That's actually a 4-star group. Usually, this is all you're going to see. These other ones are much too close to it to resolve. And so they're the 3 main stars on it. A couple of asterisms in here, and those 3 stars form part of one of it. They call the 7 sisters in a row. So up in here in Pegasus, we've got this star here, and then this one on the eastern side of the Great Square, the Alpha here, down through this one, and Merock, and Almach, and right over here, the 7th one would be Murphak, which is Alpha Persei. So they make a nice long loop like that. So that's the 7 sisters in a row. Now, the other one is called Honores Frederici, which translates as Frederick's Glory. And this was actually a constellation for maybe a century. It's one that was developed in the late 1700s by, there were a lot of astronomers around that time making up their own star charts and filling in little small parts in there, and they tried to become famous by coming up with new constellations. So this one was created by Johann Bode in 1787 to honor Frederick the Great of Prussia, who had died the year before. He was supposedly a really good king. And Prussia was sort of a collection of all the German states. And it depicted a crown, a pen, and a sword, known as a warrior and a scholar and the king. And it fell out of use in the later 1800s, so it's sort of dropped out, and it didn't make the cut by the IAU for a real constellation. Now, here's what I like. This is actually a card from Urania's Mirror from 1825. They had a set of cards in the constellations on it, beautifully drawn, and they're taken from Celestial Atlas by Alexander Jameson. Now, I would love to get my hands on some of these. Now, the bubble gum probably came with them. It'd be awful stale now. It'd be hard to blow the bubbles. But I wonder if you could get somebody like, if you remember back several decades with Brook Bond and Red Rose Tea. I said the little cards that came in there, the animal cards, dinosaur cards, bird cards, and other ones. Maybe talk to them if they're still operational. Come up with these old constellation cards. We generate those. Maybe with a wad of tea in there you can chew on without blowing bubbles. And here's a Bode's chart here from Uranographia in 1801. It's maybe hard to see it up in here, but it's up in here. And that's all poor resolution map. So this is the one that had the crown and the pen and the sword in it. This is the sword across here. Now in China, they had hundreds of constellations. Many of them were small, and many of theirs were based on government people and military people. And here's Frederick's Glory up here. To them was Wang Liang, a chariot and a whip. There's a chariot whip up on it here. And parts of Andromeda in here, we've got Qiannan Lung, which is the southern camp gate, maybe an army camp. And it probably has nothing to do with army here, but Hui Xiu, the House of the Sandal. So most of Andromeda cuts across the house at the center there. So this would get down into Pisces, and some of these would wind up in other constellations. Now let's take a run through the deep sky objects that are very famous here in Andromeda. Of course, the big one here is M31, the spiral galaxy, the Andromeda galaxy. And here's the star hop to it. One that's most popular, we have Alpheratz here. We come down to the second star here and over to Meroc. Once you hit there, you see that orange star. Then you make a right-hand turn, right angle turn, come up to this one here, which forms part of the upper layer or line there of Andromeda. And you see that's a few degrees in between the two, probably close to 4. And almost the same distance up this way by taking a little bend. And then just a little bit off to the side here, that's where you'll find M31. Beautiful, huge galaxy, very, very close to us, the closest non-dwarf galaxy, or the closest spiral galaxy to us, only 2.5 million light years away. And as we all know, Milky Way and the Andromeda galaxy are headed toward each other. And in a few billion years, 3 or 4, they will pass through each other, come around, the gravity's pulled them together again, supposedly make another pass through each other, not get so far away. And maybe on the third time they come together, they'll form one galaxy, which is currently being called Milkomeda. It's magnitude 3.4, so it's very big, and it's naked eye from a reasonably dark sky. I can even pick it up with a verted vision in my backyard, and on a good night, I can get maybe limiting magnitude 4.5 to 4.8, somewhere around there, maybe almost close to 5. And it's big, it's greater than 3 degrees wide. Now, when we look at it typically in a telescope, and especially binoculars, we're only seeing this part in here, the main part of it there. Right now, you see a couple other things here. There's M31 in here and M110 here. I'll visit each of those. So actually, the wide field eyepiece, you can get all 3 of those in there. Right? M110, you need it's more spread out a bit, so you need a darker, more transparent sky to see it. Now I'm showing people M31 in the telescope. I get them to look up in this way and ask if they can see a fat star. And they say, yeah, okay, that's the other galaxy, that's M31 or M32. So in a telescope, when you're looking just at Andromeda here, look for that fat star up there. And that'll be that galaxy. And you might want to get part of this galaxy out of the way if you're looking for M110. You want to see any real detail on it. Crank up the magnification. Right, great thing to look at, and it's one of the most beautiful sights you'll see. And it's easy in binoculars. And actually, almost the best view I've had of that has been in my 15 by 63 binoculars. You're not going to get all the details with a decent sized telescope, maybe get up to 10 or 12 inches. I've seen it in 8 at a high magnification. You can actually see some of the dust flame in here. It's a much observed thing. How many times have you taken a picture of that, Paul? More than one?
Sorry, my mic was off.
Okay, he's right above you.
That was up, I'm over here.
How many times
Oh,
have you
yeah.
image
Just,
that?
yeah, right from my very first worst picture I
Yeah.
ever did, right to not a bad one.
Okay. Moving on, M32. It's an elliptical galaxy. There's that fat star there. Magnitude 8.1, but it's very small and condensed like that, so it really pops out. And much smaller there, 9 arc minutes by 7. That's about all I want to say about that. And M110, it's a lenticular galaxy. And its magnitude 8.1, much bigger than M31, or M32, pardon me, 22 by 11 arc minutes. And you'll see a lot of star charts won't call it M110, they'll call it NGC 205. And it was the original Messier list had 103 objects in it. And there might have been one that was, there were a couple that were mistakes in there. and they think maybe one was doubled. But you get in the 1900s, and then I think Helen Sawyer Hogg had something to do with this as well. Looking at Messier's notes, you see some other ones that he'd seen, or say somebody else had seen, but he was aware of them, but they didn't get into his catalog. So they've added them in. So 104 up to 110 have been added since maybe the 1950s or 40s. Actually, the last one obviously was 110. And charted on a map by Messier in 1773. And here's that chart. And here is it up in here. It lists Messier, 1773. Le Gentil had seen M31, so he's listed on this one in 1749. So as Kenneth Quinn Jones, who has a nice book about the Messier objects and how to find them, he recommended in 1967 that this one be added to the Messier list. And many places in the United States, I see, don't include 110. But I think it's starting more and more now. We'll see 110 is in that. And certainly everything across Canada I've seen has a M110 for this particular galaxy. All right, so that's the Messier list. Then we've got the finest NGC list. And there's a really beautiful one on here in Andromeda. And it's finest NGC 11, which NGC 7662, the blue snowball. It's a planetary nebula. And magnitude 8.3. And it's 12 arc seconds, fairly small. Planetary nebula. It's not like the dumbbell. It's up in here, and yes, it is blue. I've seen it in my backyard when I went through the NGC list back in the 20 years ago or so, and I was surprised. I think I found it using on my old C8 from like an '84 version of it. I was always using the chart, the right ascension declination on it. I looked that up and moved the telescope to right ascension declination of this, the setting circles. That's the word I was trying to think of. That's how I'd get in the area, and then I'd find it. So the blue snowball is up in here. Now this might look familiar to you. That's Frederick the Great there. That's that old dead constellation, more or less, the lost constellation. So I was very, very close to the blue snowball. And here's the circles here for your Telrad. This is 4 degrees across here. So if you find this in here, maybe just put it on here. So you have your Telrad coming along that little bit of an arc there, and come up onto the side of it, and blue snowball will be right on the outside of the 4 degree, the outer arc, or the outer circle. Another way to do it, just looking at this. All right, there's Sheet and Alpheratz, 2 stars on the eastern end of the square Pegasus, and the blue snowball makes pretty much an equilateral triangle with it. They're roughly 10 degrees apart, so you go to the middle, up this way about 10 degrees, and then put you roughly in the same area to find it. It's a good way to star hop it. Or if you can pick these up, these are 3rd and 4th magnitude. That's a good way to jump to it as well. Right, all of these were discovered by Herschel, the finest NGC ones, in 1784. And it's also in the Caldwell catalog from Sir Patrick Moore. Some of his go down into the southern hemisphere, but the finest NGCs are all within the northern hemisphere. All can be seen from Canada, because it was developed by Alan Dyer. Hi, Alan. All right, the next one, finest NGC 12, a spiral galaxy. And it's called the Silver Sliver Galaxy. Try saying that 5 times real fast. The drawing. Magnitude 9.9, and you can see 13 by 3. So therefore it's a long one. And so here it is here. That's why they call it the Silver Sliver. Again, found by Herschel, and it's number 23 on the Caldwell catalog. And here's Almach here, Gamma, Andromeda, and it's only about 3 degrees down from it here. So it shouldn't be too hard to find coming down from Almach. So I mean, if you have Telrod on your telescope, put the outer circle there, through the middle, and go on to the next circle, and that's where you would find it. Here's one that's not on any. There's NGC 404. You guys seen this one before?
No,
Murox glows. Give it a shot.
Actually,
You're
somebody
the-
out here was just mentioning it too, Kurt.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Look at Muroc, and depending on what type of telescope you got, most of the time you'll see it. Well, the Schmidt-Castle grain, you might see it like that. Newtonian might see it down here. All right, it's a magnitude 11.2, so you're going to need some magnification. You want to do that anyway to get it cut down on the glare there of Muroc. But there's a galaxy very, very close to it. And I showed you this picture before. That's not a star. That is the galaxy. And so next time you're out looking at that, take your telescope and see if you can pick that galaxy up. A transparent sky would really help. And maybe trying to nudge the high magnification, so you nudge Muroc just a little bit outside of your field of view or at the edge of it. All right, here we are at the end of it. So here we have the two galaxies coming closer together. And eventually, actually, I could have read where the outer parts of both of them, they really extend way out into space. So there's maybe some interaction between the two of them going on now. But probably in a few billion years, when we all get spaceships and things like that, there will be a customs set up there between the two of them. So that's what they think is going to look like, customs office. And that's it for Andromeda.
wow.
Wow.
Ta-da.
Yeah,
Well, there's a lot up there, isn't there?
yeah.
So I find it interesting that his Herschel's rendition or Messier's rendition of M110, where we can see it how we see it with a telescope or even imaging it. It's one of the hardest things to see, and I'm surprised that he got the detail that he got on that drawing.
Yeah, maybe embellished it.
Well, yeah, because when
Yeah.
you look at it, it almost looks like a spiral,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
his looks more like a side-on spiral.
yeah. I'm not sure he had for a telescope back at that time because this would be 68, 25 years or so after he started making the list.
Yeah,
So maybe he had something bigger. Hard to say.
yeah, but I'm sure like a lot of it would be assumption based
Yeah.
on the shape of this and whatnot, then this is probably what we would see in there. Would that be fair? Because you do a lot of drawing, right?
Well, let's get sunspots.
Yeah. But still,
Sometimes
the detail that you see even in a sunspot or a moon crater.
Yeah.
Um,
Mine's just pencil spot. It's a
Yeah.
number on it.
Yeah.
Number.
Yeah. And of course, the views you get now versus the views that they would
Yeah.
have gotten back in those days are quite different, right?
I think he had better skies too. Usually.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's where all the legends come from.
Yeah, there you go. The only light pollution was a candle.
Yeah. Derek on here says M31, only ever get to resolve it to a faint fuzzy in my 5-inch telescope. Still very cool though, he says.
Yeah,
That is tough, yeah. Brad says, seeing Andromeda in a telescope for the first time was just like seeing Saturn for me in terms of the wow factor of actually looking at another whole galaxy. That's what
Yeah.
you mentioned, Paul, too, when you had,
yeah, that was the first thing I went hunting for in the sky and I found, and it was that scope that I got from Mike. And I was never so excited in my life when I found it.
Yeah.
It was like I say, it was like Tom Hanks when he made a fire on the movie Castaway.
Yeah.
I found fire, or made fire, or whatever he did.
Yeah. I
It's
think my,
still-
I think my first view was. Go ahead.
no, please go to.
Okay, I think my first view of it was with a Questar I borrowed from UNB. Took it home on weekend. This was in early 70s and managed to find it. Wow.
It was quite a thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, now that you can just look up in the sky naked eye and see it. And well, if you're in town, maybe not, but at least up here you can. And it's just like, yeah, there it is. There's the double cluster. There's the.
It's hard to impress people at the telescope, at the eyepiece, that, you know, they're looking at another galaxy. if they can see the whirlpool, that's a little bit, and they hold their eye there a little bit, they can see a little bit more of what they believe a galaxy should look like, but not a blob. With you try to tell them there's like 1 trillion stars in that, and
But you
they're
know
trying to
what?
wipe their eyepiece off at the same time.
I bet you though, even though, the people can see what they see today with everything, all the technology that's out there. But if somebody was to buy a telescope and they were actually to find something and see it in a telescope for the first time, I mean, that in itself, the hunt and the find is just as exciting as what you're actually looking at, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. But Kurt, we still got to talk about these scary stories you're telling all the time, because I mean it's a family show, and they're great for the campfire, but I get nightmares every time we have a young
Yeah. Well,
these
all
monsters
good
coming
kids,
up, chaining it to a rock, and
Yeah.
eating people, and
Beheadings and all the
yeah, all
stuff.
that coming up, holding the head up and walking around with it, and
all good kids are in bed at this time of night.
true enough. But they might watch it the next day.
Well, if they're not, they're gonna be beheaded.
Yeah.
Laying in bed like this on their phones.
Yeah.
Watching the Sunday night astronomy show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I just heard a scream from the bathroom.
Pegasus is pretty easy to pick out, and I mean, once you do the 1 2 1 2, and points.
Hey, stop. You're going to give away my Bino Bido.
Oh, I'm sorry. Andromeda, is it okay?
I'll just pass on and say, here, go look.
Anyway, let's get back on topic.
I never ever use Pegasus to find it. I always use Cassiopeia.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
what
going
I
to show
first
that
used.
too, so don't even say it.
Oh, sorry.
I'll beat you guys with a wet
now,
noodle.
Mike. Sorry,
Well, I
Mike.
think it's time for a Bino, but
Well, that was Bino Target of the Week.
Thank you, Kurt.
You're welcome.
Great, Kurt. Thank you.
Everybody
All right.
get all that?
Let's do a Bino Bud, I guess. Yes, we
I
have
don't
to
even
now.
know what screen he's on.
We don't have to now.
well, if you go
Oh,
to
we're good.
Cassiopeia and then
All the work I put into it, we're going to do it anyway. So, ha! The binocular target of the week this week is not the Pleiades cluster, which is in front of you. No, it is the Andromeda Galaxy. Yay!
Wow.
Who'd have thunk it?
Whoa. It is the spiral galaxy next door to the Milky Way and the most distant object you can see with your naked eye alone. It's best seen in the evening at this time of year with a pair of binoculars, not a telescope. Get this in, binoculars. How do we find it in the sky? Well, there's several different ways, but there's two most popular. One is to find the great square of Pegasus when it's not cloudy. Come over 2 stars and up 2 stars, and there's Andromeda. That's the way Chris and I like to find it. Also, the way Paul was talking about, you find the W of Cassiopeia, the deep part of the V right here, make that an arrow and draw a line straight down, and bang, you hit Andromeda. And that's an easy way to find it too. It's actually such a large object, it's easy to find in the sky. And right now, at 11 o'clock at night, if you went out and oriented yourself 90 degrees to the east and looked up, there she will be. What does it look like? Well, it's gorgeous. Like everybody says, it's jaw-dropping when you do see it. You're not going to get this kind of detail in the color in a telescope or binoculars, but it's still an awesome sight to look at. In 10 by 50s, she's big. I don't think I've ever seen the whole Andromeda Galaxy in a telescope, but I have seen the whole thing in a pair of binoculars. And it is a nice object to look at. Look at that compared to the full moon. It stretches what, at least 5 full moons across if you were to push it. So it's a big object, fairly easy to find and fun to look at. And here she comes. What do you win? A space talent competition? The Constellation Prize.
Waka, waka, waka. We're Halo Thursday, folks.
There you go. And that's binocular target of the week, even though it was given away by Bino Bud.
Well, you could have told us before the show started, Mike.
They're all a secret.
Make yourself a Cupid doll. Yes, and
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, it's still a good story.
I can rename it Andromeda.
Or Melcomeda. That's cool, Kurt. Melcomeda? Is that what they're calling it?
Sure. I said, you can't beat it in binoculars. The best view I've had of it is in my 20 by 80s.
Yeah.
So it's just incredible.
Yeah.
And I get it here. I get it here in Millersville. And what are we, a Bortle 5 sky?
Pretty close, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
easy to find.
it is. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. You think about it, bud. Okay, let's go on to our first Rosanna's Fun Fact episode of the season. Yay! That'd be you, Paul.
Yeah,
Yay!
I was just getting it ready.
I know.
Okay, just one sec here, and there we go. All right, it's time to share. Oh, hold it. Now I gotta get the story up. One more second.
Okay.
Got a lot of things to do when I do that segment, actually. Hard to believe, but 'tis true. Oh. Where'd you go, Rosanna? There you are. Okay, so let's see if we can make this happen. Let's share my screen. And
Fun fact.
oh, welcome back, Rosanna. Hope you had a great vacation and some time off enjoying yourself and seeing lots of astronomical spectacles and whatnot. And Rosanna has sent us, as she always does, an absolutely timely fun fact. So I'm going to get right into it. Let me just get up the first photo first, and then we'll be ready to go. There we go. Look at that, of all things. So Rosanna writes, happy first fall day, Paul. It's that time again, back to school, back to the life being scheduled, and yay, back to the Sunday night astronomy show. Yay! This show coincides with the day of the fall equinox, but not the time of it. The official Atlantic time was 9:34 a.m. this morning, right about when many of us were having our second cup of coffee. This year's equinox is rather special in that it marks rather the earliest time for the start of fall in 228 years. How's that? You might want to grab a pencil and a paper, as this first fall fun fact may cause some befuddlement. I love her words. As you know, the Earth follows an elliptical path. Well, let me see if I get the right. There we go. The Earth follows an elliptical path around the sun, the planet's rotational axis, the imaginary line that runs through the north and south poles, and is tilted with respect to that path by roughly 23.4 degrees. Earth doesn't wobble back and forth by that much. The tilt is fairly consistent, such that the North Pole always points roughly towards the binary star Polaris. The consistent tilt, along with our world's motion around the sun, are the reasons for our seasons. And that sounds almost like a Peter, Paul, and Mary song. So we don't feel this tilt from here on the surface, since gravity is consistently pulling us towards the planet's core. However, we do see its effects. The most directly noticeable impact is how high the sun reaches as it arcs across the sky each day throughout the year. Now, in this solar graph image, each arc across the image is the path the sun took through the sky, with one arc accounting for each reasonably clear day between June 21st and December 21st, 2023. The highest arc is the summer solstice. The lowest is the winter one, and the one in the middle is roughly when the fall equinox took place in 2023. Now, while the equinoxes and solstices happen around the same time each year, their exact day and time are never the same. Partly this is due to Earth taking a slightly different elliptical path around the sun each year, thus changing the exact time. Changing the exact time it takes for the planet to complete that orbit by several minutes each way. The rest is because mankind created a 365-day calendar to track the 365.25 days of time between one spring and equinox and the next. So far, so good. So these four views of the Earth from satellites in space show our planet from left to right during the northern summer solstice, the fall equinox, the winter solstice, and the spring equinox. The result of roughly 6 hours of extra time, coupled with our use of leap years, produces a very specific pattern in the timing of equinoxes and solstices. Each year, for 3 years in a row, these astronomical milestones occur nearly 6 hours later than the year before. Then on the fourth year, specifically the leap year, the timing shifts backwards by roughly 18 hours. So December on this calendar ends on Thursday, but January starts on Sunday. Pretty confusing stuff. Over the past century or two, on most years, the fall equinox has occurred on the 22nd of September, with the occasional one happening on the 23rd. However, ever since the year 2000, we've seen an interesting new pattern. Each time we have a leap year, the equinoxes and solstices set a new record for the earliest we've seen. So why is this happening? Before the year 2000, whenever we come around to a century, year 1800 to 1900 specifically, it hasn't counted as a leap year. Normally it would, as we can evenly divide those by 4, like every leap year. So leap years occur during each year, evenly divisible by 4, except those years evenly divisible by 100, but not by 400. Confused? However, there's an additional rule for leap years. And where we do not count any year that is evenly divisible by 100, not by 400, the second rule compensates for a bit of extra time that all the other leap years add to the calendar. But adding a few extra seconds is quirky. A bit not like spaying 2 kitties. I looked at this and I kind of looked at this again. Yes, that's 80 million plus pussycats in only 10 years. Fortunately, skipping the potential leap years, 1800 and 1900, did not cause an extra 80 million seconds, or 22,222 years. But it did mean that the equinoxes and the solstices didn't shift back 18 hours. Instead, just like in our previous 3 years, their timing advanced by nearly 6 hours. This has thrown a little kink into the timings, and the result is fewer early equinoxes. The last fall equinox was earlier than today's 2024, was 228 years ago, back on September 22nd, 1796, when it occurred at 3:06 local time, roughly equivalent to Eastern Standard Time. Now, this isn't the absolute earliest fall equinox, though up until the mid-1700s, due to centuries of counting and every 4 years as a leap year, without the exception, the timing of these astronomical dates had wandered backwards by about 10 days, with the fall equinox occurring only September the 12th in 1751. They will continue to get earlier and earlier every 4th year going forward, right up until the year 2096. And that year, the fall equinox will be at 6:56 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on September 21st, the earliest since the calendar reset in 1752. So there you have it, clear as mud. And that's this week's.
Fun fact.
Yay. Well, I learned a whole lot when I read that this afternoon. It was like, wow.
Ugh, it hurts.
There's a lot of
Wait.
mathematical stuff going on there, but just the overall idea of how all that works. And I had no idea, because I thought, typically the 21st of September, the 20, we have these dates in our head, but they're not those actual dates. They're either before or anyway. It's really interesting how all that works out. So thank you, Rosanna.
Yeah.
Again, a timely, very timely Rosanna's fun fact.
Awesome. I mean, we try as humans, I guess, to try to break everything into uniform pieces, and it just doesn't work that way, right?
Yeah, that's right.
At all.
Yeah,
Right.
so we can use that
Yes.
21st date to kind of target it, but then we need to take out our little computer and have a little peek and see when it actually is. So
Why don't they change the time back at the same time as the first day of fall? That's all I want.
yeah, well, that's a whole other discussion, isn't it?
Why don't
It's
they
often during the week.
Mm.
why don't they just leave it alone? Anyway, awesome to have Rosanna back with another very interesting fun fact. It just boggles my mind how she gets so much research into one of those talks in short time.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's
Thank
unbelievable.
you so much, Rosanna.
Fantastic. She's
She
good.
enjoys it. So when I read it, I can feel her interest in it as she's researching it. So
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna get to a few photos. before we sign off, I know we're running a little bit late here because we ran a little bit late to get started. So we'll get into that part first. Just be a minute here too. Come over
Isn't that the
here.
guy that disappeared on Lord of the Rings photo?
Oh boy.
Photo Biggins? No, that was Bilbo Biggins.
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, sure. Okay. No. Okay, let me get my notes here. Okay, we're gonna start out with sharing first of all. So I did get a number of images in, and I want to thank everybody first of all for sending them in. I did get there was a whole pile that were shared on my page for the Harvest Moon too, but I didn't get enough time to get them together. I was hoping to get them in a small little video. Maybe by next week I can put the Harvest Moon shots and the Aurora shots that people caught as a surprise, right? That G4 storm that we had there for the few hours. They did get a number of those as well. But I'm picking off the ones here that were sent to my Gmail address. So here they are. So first of all, I'll come up with Winston Coke. Winston says, "Hi Chris, I had a great night Saturday night in Riverview Moncton, hanging with another amateur astronomer. This shot was 35 minutes in Bortle 4 using the Antilla 5mm HA and O3 filter."
There you go.
Nice, huh?
He framed it well. It's hard to get the complete North American nebula like that, so he did a really, really good job on that.
Well done.
Yeah, very well done.
Thanks, Winston, for sharing that. Got this one from Duckman Arsenal. Duckman says, "My Photoshop of 10 photo progressions of the eclipse, September 17th and 18th. Late night," he says, "Yawn, yawn."
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sir. Yeah, that would be late night. Yeah, 12:30.
Yep.
That's the 3 or 4 coffee night, that one.
For sure. Good stuff.
All worth it,
Nice to
though.
see that. Nice to see that partial eclipse. There's a little bit of a teaser now to lead up to our 2 eclipses coming up in March of next year.
Yeah.
They're fantastic. I've already asked for clear weather and they've already guaranteed it to me. So there we go. Thank you, Duckman, for that. And Emma McPhee sent this one in of a nice sunset Friday the 20th, just outside of Moncton, she said. Great
Right.
colors. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Well,
Close up to Jupiter, isn't it?
I was just gonna say that it's like
Yeah.
being very close to
Oh, so
Jupiter.
would Jupiter, yeah.
She must have been riding that telescope that flew by and got the pictures.
Must have been. Thanks Emma, for that. Go to Lisa Fanning now. She says, "Hi Chris, hope all is well. We got out, dodged the clouds, and enjoyed the eclipse this week. Here's a comparison photo before the umbral phase versus the maximum."
nice.
Nice, huh? Well done.
Well done.
Yeah. And she says, "And I just love the mood of this one, the harvest moon, as the clouds moved back in, taken through our dogwood tree." There you go.
Go.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Nicely done. Thanks, Lisa.
I wonder if the dogwood was howling at the moon.
More than likely, yeah.
Do you know how to tell how it's a dogwood tree?
Go ahead.
You can tell by its mark.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
we better leaf this one now.
We got another one. Oh, like,
Time to branch off.
you two guys must be hooped together, right? Let's move on from that, from those corny jokes to Matthew Dupre's picture here. He says, "Hi, Chris.
Oh, very nice.
This is 2 hours," he says, "of total exposure time on the Western Veil and part of Pickering's Triangle, taken with my
Yes,
Celestial
indeed.
9 1/4 Hyperstar
Yeah.
and ASI 2600. I love that spot of the sky. That is just,
Yeah, that is
just
8,000-year-old or so remnant of a supernova.
yeah.
You say, next to Andromeda, that's probably the most photographed spot in the sky.
Well,
It
you
is.
know what it is, but when you see it like that wisp, like the detail that he's got in that image,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's really, really fantastic.
It's almost like looking through Emil's telescope.
Yeah.
It's nice because the Pickering Triangle itself is a really, really nice image.
Well, that's gorgeous.
Yeah,
shot.
right. Nice work.
Thanks, Matthew. Great job. I'm going to move there to Brad Perry. Brad said, "Just sharing a couple of captures of the full moon rising on both Tuesday and Wednesday. Both were taken across the experimental farm fields.
Very nice.
Fredericton," he said, "which felt appropriate for the harvest moon."
Excellent.
Here's
Nice.
one. Here's a second capture here.
Oh, that's pretty.
Nice. Yeah.
Done. Nicely done, Brad. Thanks for those. I got a few here from Rob and Diane LePage, who sent me in a number through the through my Facebook page. I'm going to share a few of them here. He says, love these unedited, just cropped. He said, a Canon EOS M50 mirrorless camera with Sigma 150 to 600 millimeter super telephoto lens with tripod. Nicely
Oh,
done.
very nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
he captured it well.
did. Yeah,
Nice.
Wow,
nice one there.
very nice.
He said, in Saturn with my camera. He said, next time with my telescope.
Awesome.
Well done.
Got
I
a
kind of
moon
like
in
looking
there.
at Saturn that way. It's kind of interesting to see it
Mm.
like that.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Robert, Diane LePage. I'm going to go from there to Carolyn Brunclus, September the 17th, full moon over Kirkton, Ontario, she says. Nicely done.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
And then a Klingon battle cruiser at the top.
I was gonna say that or
Yeah,
an octopus.
very well, maybe. Rebecca Ingalls captures a nice shot of the moon here for us to share.
Nice reflection.
Does she say where that is, Chris?
She didn't say where it was, no. I'm trying to zoom in to see if I can know where it is, but I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, I'm not sure of that one either.
Looks familiar, though.
It does, doesn't it?
Nice shot, though.
Yeah, very nice.
Thank you, Rebecca. And Glenn Ketchum's capture here. He says, good morning. He says, I was up before the sun this morning. As I let the dog out to do his thing, I was greeted with this. I guess winter is near. So yes, sir, it is.
Nice capture, eh?
Yeah, still a nice scene. One of the better things of seeing in the wintertime for sure.
Yeah. I like the way that it's standing up the way that it is right there. It's
Yeah.
nice.
Awesome. Now, if you have images that you want to share, please send them in to astronomybythebay@gmail.com. And I got this other one. I'm going to try to bring it up here. Hang on. This is the one I tried to get going last week. I'm going to drag it over here. Hopefully we can bring it up. So this is from Jennifer DLG from last week. And she had sent it in a .mov file, so I changed it to an MP4, and it should still be okay because this was her capture of the night sky. Oh, come on now. Here we go. The time lapse. You catching that?
No,
Yes.
we just see the Sunday Night Astronomy Show logo.
Oh, you're not. Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Hang on. Let me get it over here then. I'm going to stop share for a second then. Let's try this again.
Here's a harvest.
I tried forever to show that little time lapse video for her. Let's go again. Let's try this one. Okay, now we should be able to get it. So can I get it from here? Okay, so it should pick up here in a second.
There you go.
There you go. Yep.
Nice.
Nice and smooth. Yep.
You know, if you can envision yourself standing at the spot that video was taken from, and try to imagine that it's us moving and not the sky, it's a different perspective when you think about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I love time lapse. It shows so much.
Does,
Yeah.
yeah.
Even like when the sun's coming up in the morning, it's just like I know I'm moving toward it, and it's
Yeah.
not actually rising.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just like to think of it that way, just because it puts more perspective on our orbit and all that kind of stuff and how we're going around. And
Absolutely. I'm going to share just a few more short things here. So let's go back here. So again, I send your images in, please, to astronomybythebay@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to share them on the next broadcast. First of all, quick what's up. So tonight, as Kurt had mentioned earlier, the moon is near the Pleiades tonight, the waning gibbous moon. We do have Jupiter rising as well, and there's a nice reddish Aldebaran down in Taurus. So lots to look at in our evening sky right now. This is looking east-northeast tonight around 11:30. If we take,
wow, that's nice.
yeah, so if we move ahead one night, we're going to see the Pleiades up here by itself, and then the star Elnath, which is one of the stars of the constellation of Taurus, the end of the horn, I guess, is going to be near the waning gibbous moon tomorrow night. Jupiter down here below with its 4 moons. All these are great binocular targets as well. Aldebaran in Taurus, so another nice view tomorrow night. Move ahead now to the third quarter moon that arrives on Tuesday night, at Tuesday afternoon, I guess at 3:49 p.m. Atlantic time. third quarter moon still is pretty to watch and follow right along that Terminator line to get all these nice features that you can pick out just with binoculars. You don't need a telescope. Small telescopes will reveal all kinds of detail on the moon as well. Move ahead now to the on Wednesday evening at well, this is a 1:30 in the morning. The waning crescent moon sits above Mars, which is a nice pairing right here. So this is your view you would get through 10 by 50 binoculars. So small telescope. If you have a camera adapter, you can set on your telescope and snap a picture of this. This is always that'd be a nice little shot right there. I think you get the both of them exposed pretty well the same with the waning crescent in play. Here we are into Friday night now, or Saturday morning, sorry, at 4 a.m. So look at the stuff that we have in the morning sky, before sunrise. If you're a morning person, you can't sleep, or if you just want to set your clock and get up and have a look, here you got all these nice targets. We have the waning crescent moon. There's the constellation of Cancer. We got Gemini, Taurus, Aquarius. That's your line of view, ecliptic line. So all your zodiacal constellations are following that line along. But we get Cancer with the Beehive cluster, Pollux and Castor, the two stars, head stars of Gemini, with Mars sitting in the center of that. Then we have Jupiter, bright Jupiter. Up above that, or beside that, we have the red star Aldebaran, and then above that, we have the Pleiades star cluster. Work our way all the way over to Aquarius, where Saturn is riding at the end of the evening and leading into the morning, and then a bright Sirius down below in Canis Major. So lots of things to take a look at. There's your winter triangle forming as well. So our winter skies are coming, guys. They're not that far away. So accept it and enjoy it, because there's no way to change it. But anyway, that's a pretty sky as well if we do have some clear skies. Talking about clear skies, we were just talking about this before the show. This is going to be the topic over the next few weeks. You can hear a whole lot about this one. Comet C23 2023 at A3, Chuchinshan.
Kurt
Atlas.
knows. Kurt, how do you say it, Kurt?
Cheech and Chong.
Cheech and Chong.
I'm gonna say Gesundheit, but that's all right.
Okay. Anyway, this is the one that's all the hype right now, and it's actually it was a magnitude 3.9 reported this morning on Heavens Above, and a couple other sites that said the same. So 3.9 from 4.9 last week is a 2.5 times brighter than it was last week alone. It still hasn't gotten to the point where it's going to pass behind the sun, or its closest approach to the sun, which is coming on the 27th. But next Saturday, which is around the 28th, I guess, we should be able to get a view of it very low in the southeast sky. And that's just before daybreak. So whether you'll get a view or not, it's tough to see, but binoculars should be able to pick it out, Kurt.
Yeah, hopefully.
Binoculars, small telescope. And of course, this is just a lead into what's coming up after this, which is our view, like looking west on October the 13th at about 7:30 in the evening. So 7:30, the sun's down out of the way. We're getting a little bit of that twilight out of the way, and all of a sudden this is supposed to pop. And is it going to be the comet of the century? Don't know.
Well, we'll see.
Comet of the decade? Might be.
But from the 13th on, it's going to rise higher.
It's going to rise higher.
A little fainter with each passing, though, right?
And it's going to go fast too. Over the next those days after it comes into our point of view, it's going to zip by us within a week. It'll be up and up, just and almost it'll be back to its unimpressive brightness.
But this is supposed to be a naked eye view, is it?
This will be naked eye. I mean, it's actually 3.9 now, so it is naked eye right now, but it's caught in that glare as well, right?
Well,
but
between where it sits, what we see at our location.
It's all they're saying anywhere between 1 and -1 magnitude right now when it's in our sky. So not as bright as Venus, but perhaps it will be. And Venus is actually just to the east of this at this time as well. So you'll have Venus and a comet, and I think a crescent moon joins the show right around the 14th or so. So fingers crossed for this one. We know that comets are very unpredictable. We don't know yet on how it's going to make its trip around the sun, but we're keeping our fingers crossed for this one, and that might be our show for the month of October for sure. So let's hope.
Yeah,
I think that's all I got. Oh, I don't, and this is our Lisa's Lookup Astronomy More. So if you want more information about that and other topics that are going to be in your sky for the rest of September, you can go here to Lisa's Lookup, Astronomy and More. You can find Lisa at Ruby Moonbeams on Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, Mastodon, Facebook, and now on Threads. And Lisa gives the events here, the dates, the times, and what you'll need for seeing tools, eyeballs, binoculars, or telescope. So follow Lisa over there at Lisa's Lookup, Astronomy and More. And Kurt here puts out our calendar for us every month. This is a 6-week calendar, I guess, for September, parts of October, by St. John Astronomy Club and raskinbees.ca. So you can get it at both those locations, the calendar, and download it for free and take a look. And you'll have all the most important celestial events for the month. They'll be all listed here. So that's it for that. I think that's it for everything. Yep, we're right back to start. So we stop sharing.
There you go.
Lose out that one.
Before we go, I do want to give a shout out for all our star parties and whatnot, and some we did have and some we didn't have. So we still have a few more of these books left over we're going to use at other events. But I want to say a big thank you to Firefly Printing for supplying us with these 2024 or 2024 Night Sky Almanacs for all the people that we were out engaging in observing sessions with over the summer. That was very generous of them, and I'm sure everybody who got one of these books really appreciated it. And regardless of that 2024, that's the only thing that's really going to change is kind of the moon phases and that kind of stuff. But typically, it's a book you can hang on to and use for years to come. So again, thank you very much, Firefly, for that. We appreciate it. And again, so do those people who received them.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you very much. Made a lot of people's evenings or made the night sky that much easier for a lot of people out there. So it's great.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's our show for this evening then. So thanks to our special guest once again, Kurt, for joining us again. Thanks, Kurt.
You're welcome.
We'll hope to see you again next month. Probably see you
Try to
before.
stay alive.
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't get beheaded. If
Won't
he
we
doesn't
all?
get beheaded,
Yeah.
we're good.
Hope your
Sure
birth
you
doesn't fall off.
Special thanks again to Rosanna as well for another interesting fun fact. Rosanna, thanks very much for that. Great topics. So lots of research. Too much for my head. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the program though tonight, all of you out there in Facebook and YouTube land. And remember too, we do love getting your photos. So please send them into astronomybythebay@gmail.com. And we'll be happy to put them on our next broadcast. Special thanks again to our friends out at Rogers for joining us again this evening. So as we like to say, guys, that's our show for this evening. Wishing you all clear skies out there. As we like to say, open your eyes to view the skies. And keep your scopes pointed up.
Yep.
Good night, everybody. And we'll sign out.